Finding out I had gastroparesis was a very rough experience. I never thought that one day I would wake up and my life could possibly end. I was experiencing all the symptoms, including passing out at work, and I just thought it was because I was going through a rough time in my relationship. And one day I woke up, cold sweats, hot flashes, like I wasn't feeling like myself. So I checked my blood sugar. It was 213, and that whole week I was vomiting, and I just thought, okay, it's gonna be a regular episode, and it's gonna stop. But no, this day it just did not stop. So I called my mom, but I couldn't even tell her what was wrong with me. I just started vomiting, like. So then I tried to go back to sleep, and when I leaned back, I was just like vomiting. I had to grab a shopping bag that was next to me because I couldn't make it to the bathroom, and I was just vomiting and vomiting and vomiting, and then it stopped, and then more. It was just coming and coming and coming, and I was just like, okay, maybe I'm in DKA, maybe I ate something, food poison. And at the time, I was living literally 2 blocks from the hospital, but I had no energy, no strength, no nothing to make it to the hospital. So I called an Uber, and the Uber came and took me to the hospital. By the time I got to the hospital, the shopping bag was just full of vomit. It wasn't regular vomit, it was like yellow, green, and brown. It was just, I don't know what it was. So then the nurses seen me, they checked my blood sugar, and it was still high. But I experienced this a year before. I just had came back from Puerto Rico, and maybe 1 to 2 days after getting back, I was vomiting and vomiting. I was like, okay, maybe it was something that I ate over in Puerto Rico, and it just didn't agree. So I called 911, and they rushed me to the hospital. And I stayed there for about a week, and the doctors told me that I had something called gastritis, and I was just like, what? So, and they told me to follow up with a GI doctor, and I did not. I didn't listen. I didn't care. I was like, yeah, whatever. It'll pass by. I go through this stuff like this, not all the time, but I go through stuff like this. Um, I was frequently in DKA when I was younger because I was doing things that I wasn't supposed to be doing. So now I'm at Wyckoff Hospital, and the doctors was looking at me like, like they didn't know what to do. Like I looked like the Exorcist. I was just vomiting, and they tried to give me IV fluids. I was so dehydrated, it was hard for them to find a vein to stick the IV in. So then I was just laid up in a corner somewhere, just vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. And I'm sure that they forgot about me. Um, my mom, she met me at the hospital. She didn't live too far from me or the hospital. So she met me at the hospital, and then I stayed there for a few days. They discharged me, and then I went back to stay at my mom's house. She didn't want me staying by myself. She wanted to keep an eye on me. The next day, after being discharged, I woke up vomiting and vomiting and vomiting, and I'm just like through my mind, I'm like, what is going on? and it just continued. So I was rushed back to the hospital. Now I'm in ICU. They gave me fluids. They didn't run tests right away because they didn't know what was going on. I believe I did mention to them that I had something called gastritis, and it still took them about a week there, me vomiting, miserable, in pain, to do something. So they wanted to do something called a gastric emptying scan, where I had to eat eggs that has a radioactive substance. I eat the egg and I lay down, and they have a machine over my stomach, and they can see how fast the egg digests. So I didn't have no appetite. I didn't want to eat. I couldn't even keep water down. Like nothing, just smells. Even when people looked at me, like I just vomited. So my mother was like, Nisha, you have to eat the egg. It's going to save your life. It's going to help you. So I tried to eat the egg, and it just like, as soon as it like touched my tongue, I vomited. I wasn't sure if it was the texture of the egg, the smell of the egg, and I just vomited. But the doctor told her, oh yeah, the egg digested fine, she's fine. Maybe it's just a stomach virus. And my mother knew something was wrong. And I couldn't leave the hospital because I needed the fluids. I needed something because I was vomiting so much. Like I needed the fluids. So then I stayed there for a few days. Discharge, back again. Discharge, back again. Discharge, back again. Then my last admit to Wyckoff, my mother, she was just like, no, she was fed up. The nurses was doing my blood sugar maybe about every 5 to 6 hours. The doctor ordered IV fluids with sugar. My blood sugar was already sky high. Then on top of getting the IV fluids with sugar, I was constantly in the 300s, 400s, 500s. Like something wasn't right. And then later that night, she signed papers to have me discharged. And they told her if we discharge her without the doctor's orders, whatever happens, that's on you. So that same night, we went to Brooklyn Methodist Hospital. And when I got there, the emergency room was super packed. But when the nurses seen my condition, they took me in right away. So they did everything. My mom was my advocate because I would just vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. And they took my blood sugar there. It was still sky high. So now I'm in the bag and I'm just like crying. I'm in pain. I'm like, I just want pain medicines and I just want the vomiting to stop. So the nurses spoke to the doctors, and the doctors ordered for them to give me morphine that I later became addicted to. So after that, even when I was at Methodist, it took them several admits to find out what was wrong with me. And there as well, I mentioned that I had gastritis. So again, stayed there for a few days, discharge. Back again, I was like, when I would get discharged, I would be home for maybe 12, 14 hours before going back. And it was just like, now when we in the emergency room, they knew me, like on a first name basis, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But the doctors at Methodist saying they know it's something gastro related. They ran blood tests and they seen that my hemoglobin A1C was like skyrocket. It was I believe it was 13 or 15. So they performed an X-ray, another gastric emptying scan, upper endoscopy, a smart pill, and another scan they had to put me to sleep for. But the X-ray, the gastric emptying scan, and the smart pill weren't successful. When I swallowed the smart pill, I spit it right back up. Like, my condition was so severe, I couldn't even keep down water. So when I tried to swallow the pill, it came right back up. For the X-ray, I had to drink a liquid, and I swallowed it. It came right back up. For the gastric emptying scan, I tried my best to eat the egg, and after 10-15 minutes, they seen the egg wasn't going nowhere. So it was like, okay, so now we're gonna do the upper endoscopy. Then they did the other stomach, and for those procedures, they put me to sleep, and I was just like, more drugs. I enjoyed the drowsy feeling and the high feeling. Like, it made me numb to the situation, what was going on, and it made me feel good. Like, I would just, at a point in time, I would just like, I don't care what's going on. I just want morphine, IV fluids, and for the vomiting to stop. But before they found out that it was gastroparesis, so I was just getting morphine, 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 morphine. And then when they found out that I had gastroparesis, they started to fall back on giving me pain meds, because being that my stomach was already paralyzed, the morphine wouldn't make it any better. It would just continue to slow down my organs. And I was just like, I don't care. I want it. So then they told me I had gastroparesis, and I was just like, gastro what? Gastro for who? And they broke it down, told me what it was, told me that my stomach, it's paralyzed. I won't be able to digest food. And I was already going through it. I was already depressed. It was hard. Like, it was hard. And then just after hearing that, I completely shut down. I just went into a dark, dark depression. It was scary, and I stayed there for some time. I was discharged and it went back. I was discharged and it went back. I went through hell, came back home, went through hell, came back home, went through hell, came back home. Like, it was just too many hospital admits. And then they finally told me and my mom, like, we're sorry, we can't do anything for her but to hydrate her and to help control her diabetes. And then they advised us to see the gastric surgeon at Well Cornell, because he was known to install the gastric pacemaker. And there you have it. That's how I found out I had gastroparesis. And it wasn't it wasn't easy accepting that. It was tough. It was hard. Um, I'm living with it. I'm dealing with it. And every day is a learning experience. So thank you for listening and look out for the next video.